Hey guys, Will with LV Performance. Today we're working on a 2016 Volkswagen Passat with the 1.8 liter turbo engine. This one we're actually doing a timing kit on. This is actually for one of our family members we're working on this one for. And the reason they didn't want to do it is because there's so many damn special tools from Volkswagen to do the timing on this car. I actually did it with no special tools at all, well, essentially. They have a special tool to hold the crank to break the bolt loose. They have a special tool to put on the crank bolt afterwards to hold the lower gear to the crank, because they are kind of an oddball setup. There's special tools to hold both of the cam gears when you take it apart. There's a special tool to remove the oil control valve. There's a special tool to depress the primary chain tensioner. There's just a lot of stuff they call for on it, and it's kind of scary, I guess, for them when you see it all like that. But we actually did it without any of that. It makes it a lot simpler if you do have those special tools, I will tell you that. But what you're going to spend to get all those, you're going to spend close to $400 for all these things. And how often are you really going to use that? If you work on a lot of these, or you have a lot of family with them, or a lot of friends with them, you know, it could be beneficial for you guys to go in and buy some of those. If you're just doing this every now and again, or just doing this one time on your car, I don't know if it's really necessary or not to have those and just have them sitting around for the rest of your life. So I'll tell you a couple of the tips that I used on working on this one. So there's a few things. The special tool to hold the crank while you remove the lower bolt, I didn't find necessary at all. I hit it with an impact and that bolt will come loose absolutely no problem. So if you're trying to do it by hand, yeah, I could see that being an issue, because the engine does turn over quite easily, even with all the spark plugs in. I just used a little no-name electric plug-in impact, and I had no problem zipping that out, so I don't see you having any type of problem with that. As the next one, for holding the lower gear on while you're doing everything setting up the timing, they have this special tool that goes on there, and really it's just a big nylon bushing that you put on with the crank bolt. So there's a crank bolt, and that would be the special tool. That, however, is not a special tool. That is just a random ass bushing I had sitting in my box. So anything you have like that that can fit over the bolt and just take up some of the slack in between the bolt and that to snug it down, will work just fine. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a big nut. You don't want to use anything really hard to hurt the surface of the gear. So this is the old one that we took off. And you see it is kind of wavy how it matches up against the, this would go up against the crank pulley, and this one goes against the crank. So you don't want to do anything to mar that. So I just had a thick polyurethane bushing that I just sat over that, just to hold it tight against it, because this gear doesn't have a whole lot to sit on the crank. You know, it has a very small lip. You do need to pay attention to the orientation of this. If you have everything truly at top dead center, when you pull this apart, this will be dead even across the top. Your good telltale for when it's still on there, this large V portion that's open here, it'll be pointing straight up like that. So, and then your other timing marks are up here on the cams. There's this one for your intake cam. There's that little nub right there. Probably kind of hard to see in the video. This one for the exhaust cam. I have to put that nub right there. There's a lot of really good information online on these motors. That'll tell you all the stuff for setting up the timing and everything. This is more of a just kind of a way around some of the special tools setup, really. So when I was pulling all this apart, they do have special tools that will actually bolt up here and has a tooth and comes up and locks each cam gear. Another one bolts up right there, locks that. Makes it very nice when you take off the chain, nothing ever moves. You got no problem, you know, take the chains off, drop the chains on. So it would make it quite nice. Me not wanting to spend the money on those for who knows how many of these I'm going to be doing. So I didn't worry about any of that. Once I got the chain tensioner and everything out, the cams did move a little bit. They went approximately about 2 teeth forward. Not enough to hurt anything or anything like that. But just enough to put them out of time. And then on these ones, on these newer generation ones, I believe these are set up for the 2014 and up, when they did the redesign for these engines. And this is the same for the 2.0 liter as well. There's nothing to grab onto to really turn them. Some of the earlier ones had a provision in the back that you could put a wrench on, but these do not have that. So what do you do to set them back into time? So on this one, what I did is I had this, I went ahead and once we swapped over all our stuff on there, I went ahead and set this guide up in there kind of loosely for this side. And then I got this chain, because you have your special links that line up the marks for your gears and everything. I got this chain set up onto its nub. Like I said, it was about 2 teeth forward. I set that up on there, and then I put this bolt, and just loosely fits in one of these holes here on this exhaust cam. Did that, did a small pry bar against that, and cam moves real easily. Did that to turn it, so then I could get this link to line up on that cam gear. Like I said, they're both about 2 teeth forward. Do that, get that set up on there, get the chain on. Then I did place a couple zip ties on it, and then with this guide up here, it'll help keep it from wanting to spit the chain off the intake side. Once I release that, it helped pull the cams almost totally back to their TDC marks they're supposed to be at. And then from there, I was able to work them around a little bit just by lightly prying on this exhaust cam to make them line up properly. So that took care of most of that. I did leave some slack down here on the crank side, so I could make sure to, when I did that, I didn't try to turn the crank away from TDC. And then I did have to take out this bottom bolt from this guide to work the chain up there a little bit, and then get its gold link lined up with its special spot. And then I was able to get these cams to rotate back the rest of the way to totally match up, and then remove the slack from this side. And then that gave me my true timing mark back for the crank side. Had them all set up on the cam side, left these zip ties on there, get our tensioner guide in that goes on the exhaust side, and that is where the primary tensioner goes. So now I got everything set up in time, and no special tools, no worrying about any of that stuff. So that was pretty nice. One thing you will run across that is quite of an oddball is the oil control valve that goes inside the intake cam. There is also the bridge that goes on here, but you have to take off the oil control valve before you can remove that bridge. That one is a left-handed thread, so it's a lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. And it does not have a head on it. Instead, it has 2 offset holes in it, and trying to break that loose would be pretty difficult. But actually, if you have a disc brake kit, or if you go anywhere and rent one of these, there's actually a adapter in there that will work perfectly for it. You can see this is our oil control valve, and it will fit a little bit odd on there, but you got more than enough room in there, and those 2 pegs line up in it perfectly. I did that, got our little adapter that goes on there, and bam, comes off real nicely. Just remember that it is reverse thread. I'm sure you could probably buy that special tool fairly inexpensively, but if you have a disc brake kit like this, or if you go to anywhere, you know, O'Reilly, AutoZone, Advance, you can rent that kit and not have to essentially pay anything. Overall, doing timing on these really isn't that hard. Like I said, there's a whole lot of information online about them. You will find more stuff about the 2.0 liter than the 1.8 liter. Not totally sure why that is. I guess it's just more people working on those instead. But they are essentially the same engine. So definitely drain the oil before you pull the lower cover off. I didn't know if the oil level on these is actually above that cover level, so they're making a hell of a mess. So don't make that mistake like I did. Hope this helps. Like I said, this is just an overview, just to show you that you don't need any type of crazy tools to do this. Just a little bit of know-how and a little bit of stick-to-itiveness, and you'll be just fine. Get a couple zip ties, find a bolt that fits in the hole of that exhaust one pretty easy. Find yourself a brake kit or something similar to remove that oil control valve. Find yourself a nice little semi-soft bushing to put in between that. Like I said, the one they use for special tools is a nylon one, so it just doesn't mar that surface at all. You don't want to use anything super hard and risk squishing the teeth on that. So other than that, it's really not that much different than doing timing on anything else chain driven. So all right guys, I hope this helps you, and if there's anything on here that we didn't cover, any questions you might have, or just want to say hey, or all right, thanks for watching.